Welcome back, fans of the RBTV Game of the Week, as we have varsity volleyball as the Fenwick Flyers take on your Riverside Brookfield Bulldogs. Anthony Landau along with Olivia Geisler. Now, Olivia, we were talking a little bit before about the Fenwick Flyers and pointers to point out there, but I just want to talk about the Bulldogs. That's why we're here today, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge McLean Nolan. He's 6'5", 180 pounds. He's a senior this year, and in warm-ups, I was just watching him swat balls with intense power. What can you say about his type of play and what he's going to bring to the court today?
Well, Coach Bonarigo often refers to him as one of the best middles in the state, actually. And so, he spent a lot of time outside of school and the off-season training on his club team. And so I think we're going to see a really good look at what he can do tonight. And he is definitely one of our key defensive players up at the net and also one of our key hitters.
Now, in comparison to the Fenwick Flyers, it looks like RB has a little bit more height advantage with, of course, 6'4" Mikey Torres, 6'3" Bio Zaper, and 6'3" Jason Bajinas, who also I know plays sophomore basketball and is an extreme athlete. So there's a lot of athleticism. How does athleticism play into not only volleyball as a sport, but RB's team in particular?
Well, looking at Jason specifically, he's taken a lot of his basketball talents and translated it to perfecting his volleyball approach and perfecting his blocking. So that has really translated well. Same with Mikey. He used to play basketball, so that's translated very well to his blocking abilities and his defense. And same with Bio. They're all athletic guys, and so that's going to be a really big key component in them playing defense.
Now, I also noticed that we have two 5'9"ers, Angelo Hernandez and Gabriel Espinoza. How do they contribute to the game, even due to their height disadvantage?
Well, you're going to see them more specialize in back row play, so their defense is some of the best on the team, and that's really where Coach Bonarigo takes his pride in his defense. I mean, in practice, every day the guys are running defensive drill after defensive drill, and that's really where they do shine, is in their defense. So. And
as we start up here, the teams are getting at either each other's side, as we have the Bulldogs line up on the left and the Fenwick Friars line up on the right. Now, what are we going to look for in specifically Peter Ferguson tonight, do you think? He's the heaviest on the team at 210 pounds. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, Peter's really worked the last year on becoming a great setter, and what it takes to be a great setter is to know your offense. And so what Coach Bonarigo focuses with him is moving the ball around. So you'll see him dish out a lot of sets to the outside and then throw a couple back and then go to the middle and hit some back row plays too. So he really wants to distribute the ball well, and that's what's going to pace our offense.
Now on the floor, we have Zach Georgopoulos starting with this beginning serve, Eric Hartwig, Peter Ferguson, McLean Nolan, Mikey Torres, and I think that's Arturo Lopez, or one of the Lopez brothers, twin brothers, as RB gets a quick point here. Of the Lopez brothers, they are twins indeed. Similar play? Dissimilar play?
Well, it's actually interesting. One of them is right-handed and one of them is left-handed. So you're going to see them on opposite ends of the court, one as an outside hitter and the other as a right side hitter. So there are times where they're both on the court, and there's times where Arturo gets a little more playing time.
And we just observed some of McLean Nolan's amazing athleticism. 6'5", that is a lot of power, as we see Zach Georgopoulos set up here. And he's going to hit it a bit short. There's the bump. There's the set. They're going to hit it back over to the other side as, Mikey Torres, they keep it in play as the bump, and here is Georgopoulos with the set, and here's Nolan again as he taps it over slightly. Does when you're defending one of those hard spikes, what are you looking for?
You're looking to just get hit with the ball. You want your hands out in front of you, just hoping it hits you and not the floor next to you. That's really the best you can do with that.
As Georgopoulos reacts quick there, and Georgopoulos is wearing an opposite colored jersey as the official points to Fenwick as they get the point. Now, what is Georgopoulos' position and his ability there?
Zach Georgopoulos is the libero for the team, and so what that means is he is regarded as primarily the best passer on the team and best defense. And so what that is wearing the other colored jersey is going to allow him to have unlimited substitutions with the middles.
As we see a point there go to the Flyers as a tip goes out of bounds by Nolan. So is Georgopoulos supposed to be the agile one, as I saw he kind of dig down there in the back? Is that his job?
Yes, that is definitely his job. He tends personally to put a lot of the defensive pressure on himself, and he's often working, 10 times harder at his position, trying to be the best defender on the court.
As we see Ferguson set up and McLean Nolan getting another amazing kill there as the Bulldogs take a 4-2 lead. As we have number 5, Gabriel Espinoza, check into the game, and he is the shorter one. He is indeed a setter. Is he one of the better setters on the team, or who would you say has the best serve?
Best serve, I would say Gabe's got the best float serve on the team by far. I mean, he hits his zones all the time, and he's definitely got that perfect float, which is kind of equivalent to a not gutter ball, kind of a harder serve to return in that it moves as you are trying to pass it.
As we get the serve from Nick Lillig as a block there, and a point goes to Fenwick. Now there are 2 Lilligs on the team. There's Nick Lillig and there's Connor Lillig. I'm not sure if there is a relation, but indeed there's some kind of family on the team. Does the family aspect add any extra chemistry, as there's 2 twins on our team? Do you think that would add anything to a volleyball team?
Oh, I definitely would say so. I mean, when Arturo and Gustavo are both on the court, they're high-fiving, they're hugging, and the team loves it. They really eat it up. I mean, they're all just one big family, and actually having your family on the court just makes it that much more special.
As we see another point taken by RB as we go up 6-3, as we take one of the Lopez brothers. There's the setup for number 20, and that's a Lillig, Connor Lillig, as the point goes to the Fenwick Flyers. As checking into the game for the Flyers, Luke Wolf, as he will be taking the serve here. Ooh, and a tough kill there by McLean Nolan as they spike it right back over. Ferguson's going to set it up for the Lopez brother, who gets a block, and the point goes to the Friars. Now, as I noticed a little bit, some people have does anyone have a ritual when it comes to serving the ball? Some people like to flip it back. I know for free throws that people have maybe kind of like touch the face, maybe touch the ball 3 times or so. Is there any ritual when it comes to a serve?
Yeah, so kind of at a young age, a coach will tell you that you want to get into a little rhythm before you go to serve, so you don't want to just focus on your serve. And so whatever you need to do to prepare, some people just dribble the ball, some people spin it, some people bounce it. I've seen people kiss it. So, I mean, it's all, I guess, whatever you want to do with that.
Now, as we saw, McLean Nolan did just take a serve there. Do you think some of the taller players have a better serve, or is it more advantage to maybe be just shorter, or is there really any correlation between the 2 of height?
Typically what you'll see at the higher levels in college and professional is that the bigger players tend to jump top serve, and so what that is, it's very similar to a spike in volleyball, where you want to hit it essentially as hard as you can with as much top spin as you can, and that will generate more power. However, if you do choose to serve that type of serve, it tends to be missed more, and so there's a more high risk, high reward with that, as opposed to the float serve, which we've seen with Gabe Espinoza, who has a phenomenal float serve. It's a little more consistent, but not as powerful. So it's really dependent upon the player, what they're more comfortable with, but also with what the coach wants. And so Coach Bonarico has Eric Hartwig and McLean, and typically sometimes Gabe serving those jump top to try and generate some points there.
And we saw Eric Hartwig take a fall there on the floor trying to save a ball there. Now we see a lot of these players rotate in and out, so do you need a lot of position? There's a lot of different position play for this team as RB gets the point. So is it good to be specialized in one position, or should you be generally good in all positions? What do you think about that?
Typically, it would be better to be good at all positions. However, the taller players at a young age will tend to start focusing more on front row play, where they can hit in a outside, middle, or right side setting. And the shorter players will tend to specialize more in a back row play, where they can play middle back, left back, or right back, dependent upon what they eventually feel most comfortable with.
As I think we got a violation there, and I think the point went to RB there as we're going up 10-7, as Hartwig is about to take the serve here.
And here you'll see a great demonstration of the jump top.
As the Friars have a little trouble getting the ball out of their zone as the Bulldogs go up 11-7. Now, do we ever see maybe one players serving the entire game. Have you ever seen something like that, or long streaks of serve? Because I've definitely experienced some of those sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely happens. However, a little more rare. But there was a few years ago where the boys did go to the sectional semifinals, and they served a team off the court. The other team scored 1 point, and we served 24.
Now, is there a term for that? Is there like
Embarrassment.
An embarrassment. Now that's great. Now we're 12-7, as I believe the Friars have taken a timeout here. Now, what do you think the Friars are going to be talking over in that huddle there?
Well, I think the Friars are going to be talking about trying to get as many touches as they can on our hitters, because our hitters are finding the corners, they're finding deep court, they're tipping short, and they're getting a lot of kills. So more touches on our hits is going to slow down our offense and be able to allow their defense to pick up more of our balls.
Now, do you think that having all those short players, that is a disadvantage indeed in the game of volleyball, or do you think that sometimes a shorter team can be better than the taller team?
I definitely think the shorter team can pull through. Height is, you can't teach height, that's for sure, but you can teach defense, and you can train to get your vertical up, and you can play with drive to win. And so there's only so much that height can do, although it is an advantage. However, short teams, it's very possible for a short team to pull through.
Now, as we start off, we have Hartwig, Ferguson, Georgopoulos, Torres, Jason, and another Gustavo brother, as the point goes out towards the Fires, as number 6, Will Sophie, is going to take the serve here. Georgopoulos, Ferguson with the setup, and Jason with a violation, and the point's going to go to Fenwick. Serving into Ferguson, and Hartwig with a long jump. And it's out, going with the RB point.
I think it's really great. The bench tends to get really involved in the games, and they do have a lot of kind of a little more rude cheers that they like to do to get our team pumped and to kind of mess with the other team. So we saw there the who was that 2 cheer with the long ball coming from Fenwick.
Now, as we see Nolan take a powerful shot, does trash talking ever occur in volleyball games?
Oh, definitely. It's a little more common definitely in boys than girls, but there have been many situations where our players are up the net and they're kind of whispering back and forth through the net. So we don't see as much of it on the bench, but because it's a little more quiet, but the guys are definitely up there getting heated. So it's understandable, but you just have to keep it under control so the refs don't see.
As we saw a point taken there by the Friars as Pat Kenny sets up for the serve. Peter Ferguson will serve it back to Mikey Torres, and it's blocked as the Friars get it back set up, but they managed to retain it, but it's out of bounds, and the point will go to the Bulldogs as it's 14-10. As it looks like Gabriel Espinoza, our short little friend there, will set up for his serve here. Here's the setup, and it's blocked back, and the point will go to the Bulldogs. And I believe that was one of the Lopez brothers. Now, as I see here, the Fenwick Flyers are setting up in kind of a 3-man, almost defensive position. What's the strategy there as that one sails out of bounds until RB?
Well, passing 3 wide is a very typical way to receive one serve. It just allows the players to cover more court. However, if something does go wrong and one player is getting aced over and over, it does allow some flexibility when one player can move back, so it can be 2 covering the whole court. So it really just depends on the coach's preference for how they want to receive serve, but generally 3 wide is how it's done.
And as that one sails far out of bounds by Pat Kenny, as RB gets the point, and they go up 7 points, the biggest lead of the game so far, as Espinoza will take the jump. There's the setup. Oh, and it's blocked back. Flyers try to set it up again. Bump it to the other side. Here's Georgopoulos. And now it seems that a lot of times one player is going to think that the setup is for them, and it sails over his head. Would you say, as the Friars take a timeout as RB goes up 18-10, would you say that's kind of a disappointment when they miss out on the point, or is it what goes through their head when they
Well, it's actually, like, for example, there, McLean Nolan went up in the middle, and that's him actually drawing what we call drawing the block. And so he has been getting kills all night. And so when he goes up, taking his full approach, making it look like he's going to swing, those blockers on Fenwick are going to stay on him, which leaves Arturo Lopez on the outside completely open. So there he had no block, got the kill, no problem.
So it's much more of a fake out and a mental game.
Exactly.
That's very smart by volleyball. And there's not you don't see a lot of play like that in other sports, maybe by one specific player, but by the whole team trying to fake out. And in volleyball, is it more fake out plays or is it more trying to set up for one player?
It's definitely more fake out plays because we've seen a little bit, McLean slowed down here a little bit because Fenwick's getting more touches on his swings. And so Coach Bonarico probably told Peter Ferguson that he needs to, get McLean open more. And so by spreading out that ball more, he'll be able to get a one-on-one situation where McLean would have one blocker as opposed to 2 or 3 blockers.
Now he's seeing Gustavo Lopez checks into the game as it bounces off his back. Blooper there for Fenwick as the Bulldogs go up 19-10 as Espinoza continues on his serving streak. Here's the setup by the Friars. The tiny tap over. And here's Nolan with a boomerang of a shot. That is some athleticism. Now, have you seen, we of course have, we've seen some tall players here at RB, but do high school players tend to be around 6'5", or do we see even taller players?
Oh, we definitely see taller players.
Do we see at least up to 7 feet maybe? Not in the high school level, but.
Oh, I've seen high school 7-footers definitely out there. You don't typically see them because, 7 feet's kind of a rare height. But when you go to club tournaments and stuff, because all those guys are playing for their high schools, there have definitely been 7-foot, 6'11" guys out there.
As RB takes an 11-point lead, and here's Espinoza setting up again. He's been doing a wonderful job here as the Friars try to get something set up, but they'll have to retreat, come back as Gustavo Lopez gets it to his brother, and that's blocked in the point to RB as they go up 12 points, and they should have a easy win hopefully here. I'm hoping, knock on wood there, as we have Espinoza taking yet another serve as McLean Nolan finally checks out of the game. Now, do we see a lot of players have durability, or do they sub out of the game frequently?
Well, it really depends on who the opponent is. Like this game, we saw Bio Zaper come in, and so he doesn't see as much playing time. Coach Bonarico tends to play seniors a little bit in favor. And so depending upon the opponent, we just saw McLean check out, so we're going to see Trevor get a chance to go right here.
Now, as we have the serve by the Friars, as they try to say something up here for number 22 as the point goes to RB. Now, as you said, Bonarigo likes to play the seniors. There's only 2 seniors on this team. We have McLean Nolan and Lucas Klubas. And not only that, we only have 1 sophomore, which is Jason. Everyone else is juniors. So what do you think the future, as RB gets a wonderful point there as they go up 12 points, what do you think the future is for next year? Do you think that we won't be missing a lot even with McLean out, or do you think that we should probably be where we are at?
I think we're going to pretty much stay at this level. I think that, the team is definitely going to suffer a little bit from not having someone in the middle, but there are definitely sophomores that are on the sophomore team right now that are going to step up to the plate and get a shot at next year. But there's only going to be 3 or 4 spots open next year, so, it's going to be the best sophomores making the team next year.
And as we see Bulldogs take game 1 here, who do you think was a key player in that match? Or in that, yeah.
I think
we got, I think we're going to go to break here. Sorry about that, folks. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll bring you back to game 2 here on RBTV. Welcome back to RBTV as we present you varsity volleyball as the Riverside Brookfield Bulldogs take on the Fenwick Flyers. As we saw in this match in set 1, the Bulldogs took a very easy win here. So, Olivia, as we go into the second set, do Do you think the Bulldogs have a little more momentum coming off that first win?
I definitely think so. I also think that a big key to having the momentum that they do is playing at home. You know, you're surrounded by a very familiar crowd. We see a lot of parents and peers here, and I think that's really a big incentive for them to win.
Now, in the case where, as Fenwick gets the first point here, in the case that you don't have an easy win like that, is the first game kind of the feeling out game, or is it very vital to win that first game just like other games?
Well, winning the first game is definitely going to be a big help, but it's not detrimental if you don't. I would definitely say that, you know, during the first game, you are getting a feel for who the key players of the other team are, you know, what their defense looks like, what's going to work, what's not going to work. And so, but if you don't win that first set, you always have that second game to play, and then that third if you win that second one.
As we've seen the point taken there, as Zach Drojopoulos will set up for the serve. And he has his little ritual there, as he'll serve it over the net, and Friars will try to set it up. Tips it over back, and no one is there to grab it. Was there miscommunication there, it looked like, or what do you think went wrong there?
Yes, definitely. What Coach Bonarigo wants in that situation is not the blocker to turn off the net and kind of elbow it or fist it. They want to trust that their defense is behind them to pick it up. As
we see the serve there by Pat Kenny, a very strong serve there as the Friars try to set it up there, as they sail it over the back, and the point are going to go to the Friars as Zach Drojopoulos tries to make his agility worth it, as Pat Kenny is going to try to serve back for the Flyers. Flyers up 3-1. Now, in many cases, do you think that sometimes a team can get too cocky and try to feel out the win just based on one win?
I would definitely think so. I think that the most important thing coming off a big game one like that is to, you know, realize that Fenwick does have some very capable hitters, and they do have a pretty solid offense and defense, and to expect them to come back swinging. I mean, they're mad. They just lost their game. They're gonna want to win, and so definitely expect them to make a push right here.
Now, as we see, does RB try to keep cool, calm, and collective, or are they kind of run around and wait to get organized type players, as McLean Nolan runs out of gas there on that jump up? Do they seem to get nervous as you've seen them, or do they try to come back together and try to win a game?
Well, we've seen a lot of guys here have some time on varsity last year, so they're very familiar with the stress that goes into a close game or an important game. And so with some of the new players, you tend to see a little bit more nervousness that comes out in play, and so it becomes a little more noticeable at the beginning of a season, but at this point everyone's pretty much cool and calm in stressful situations.
Now, as we see the Friars go up 6-1 as Pat Kenny continues on his streak, as the Bulldogs are just not getting the ball to fall back over, and the Friars are getting everything. It looks like the whole entire game is reversed, but the Bulldogs get a break, and they get a point there as they go up 6-2, and Bonarigo is going to take looks like he's going to make a substitution, as Gabriel Espinoza, who had a wonderful game last serving the ball, is going to try to step in and see if he can work his magic on the Friars, as the ball will sail out of bounds, and the Bulldogs will take a 6-3 score as they're still down 3. But Espinoza is going to try to rally them back. Friars try to set up something here, as it's going to sail over, set by Drojopoulos, as a little miscommunication was there, but McLean Nolan got it back, and it's blocked up back. Pat Kenny tries to keep it in play. Espinoza with the nice fake out there, and an easy point there from Mikey Torres. Faked it to McLean Nolan and took it right back to Torres, as the Bulldogs are coming back a little bit by a little bit. Now, have you ever seen, do teams really rally from maybe large deficits? Is that common to see, or is it hard to rally maybe from like a 10-point deficit, let's take for example?
Well, it really depends on the team, but usually you're going to see teams who are down by, let's say, 10 points or so make a little bit of a push, and then typically what happens with RB's team is one mistake happens, and then everyone's confidence is just kind of shot at that point. So it's really key to make sure that you're only giving them, if you're going to give them any points, 2 to 3, so you're still in the game and not creating these huge holes that are hard to dig yourselves out of.
So would you say that watching RB, do you think they could make a 5-point comeback?
Oh, definitely.
As we see Espinoza set up for Torres in the back, as hard hit there as the Friars try to set it up. Pat Kenny, who was serving a couple times, as Drojopoulos sets it up for one of the Lopez brothers, as the Bulldogs get a point. And they go up here. Well, they go 1 point within 7. This is for a tie here as number 6 Arturo Lopez, the 2 pounds lighter of the Lopez brothers, as he will serve to the back to Kenny. Sets it up for number 20, Connor Lilig. My bad, excuse me.
So there we had what you would call a combo play, where one player went up in the middle on a one-tempo ball, which is a shorter set, and someone came in behind him at a second tempo ball, which is a little bit of a higher set. So our blockers went up with that first guy, thinking it was going to be a quick play, but when actually it was a slower play, and left our defense, kind of fighting for themselves.
Now, do a lot of the teams run the same plays, or is it kind of all different plays just depending on your team?
It's going to be the same plays, but how they piece together each play and combinations and at certain points of the game is going to be totally dependent upon the team and essentially the setter, because the setter is the one running the offense.
Now we see Angelo Hernandez coming to the game. We saw him last game at the very end. What does he have to contribute to the team as the Friars take a 2-point lead?
Angelo is a very give-it-your-all kind of player, so he is very much willing to essentially sacrifice his body for the ball. So, I mean, he's all over the court, not really worried about getting injured, but more worrying about making sure that the ball is going to get over. And so, in practice you see him a lot, just completely, running and diving and landing on his stomach, his elbows, and sometimes his head, just to get the ball up. So he really is a great defensive player.
Now as we see the Friars go up 10-7 as Connor Lilig will take the serve, serves it to Hernandez, and here's Espinoza setting it up for Hartwig as it sails out of bounds, and the Friars will take a 4-point lead. What do the Bulldogs have to do here to get back in this game?
Well, the Bulldogs really just need to start focusing on their side. I think they're worried a little bit too much on what they're doing, and they're running these, Fenwick's running these plays that they're not really prepared for. So we just need to slow it down on our side, focus on getting our swings in and getting some more touches on their offense, so that our defense has a chance to set up our offense.
As we see Peter Ferguson and Gustavo Lopez check into the game here, as Ferguson will set up for the serve, as he has kind of a shorthand serve there, as the Friars will try to set it up. And Hernandez is going to sacrifice his body, but too little too late as the Friars take a 4-point lead. Substitution made here by the Friars as number 8, Pat Bailey, comes in to take the serve. As you see Ferguson try to set it up for Hartwig as the Friars try to rally back. And Hernandez is going to get it back into the play as Georgopoulos, hard hit, but he gets it back as try to set up. Here's Ferguson trying to get it over to Hartwig as he makes a wonderful, wonderful kill there. And the Bulldogs are only down 3 here. And let's see if they can try to rally as Bio Zapra comes in for Hartwig. Now, what do you think Bonarigo is telling your players when they check into games?
Right now with Bio going back to serve, he's definitely telling them that you're down 3, you want your serve at the court. I mean, not worrying so much about making it a hard serve to get the ace, but more focusing on making sure our team has a chance to play.
And as we see a little bit of miscommunication and trouble on the floor there, as the Friars are still up 4. The Bulldogs aren't really letting them get away, as we have number 6 Will Sophie taking the serve here. Little guy, but he has the easiest serve as Ferguson will set up Jason as he taps it a little, but the Friars manage to come back as it's blocked, but not enough as the Friars will take a point there. And a timeout taken by the Bulldogs. Bonarigo, you think he's upset, or do you think he's confident in his boys?
I think he's definitely confident, but he's probably upset that we're not getting the job done like we did in set 1, and that, essentially most of their points are our mistakes. We're having miscommunications, we're having poor defensive plays, and so that's on us. And so he's probably telling them right now that we're controlling this game and not in our favor.
Now, we haven't really seen a lot of McLean Nolan in this game in particular. Do players usually sit out and try to regain their strength, or do you think they are just not playing him or not utilizing him enough in this game?
Typically with teams like Fenwick, where we had a strong first set win against them, Coach Bonarigo will put in some of the players that don't get as much playing time and are typically juniors or younger players to try and get them some experience. So right now he's giving players like Jason and Angelo Hernandez chances to kind of prove themselves. And so yeah, we might be down a couple points, but he wants to see what they can do.
And Will Sophie takes it in here as Georgopoulos will set it up. And a little ill communication there as the Friars take a point. Jason, the set was kind of a bit off, and Jason hesitated too slow as Will Sophie will once again take the serve. We'll set it up to one of the Lopez brothers as the Lopez brother. And Sophie will take it back as number 22, Pat Kenny, will set it right back over with Bio to Ferguson. And we're going to set it up to Turo, who does not get the point, and the Friars are going to go up 7 here. Friars are getting a little bit away from the Bulldogs here. Now, do you start focusing on this game here, or would you look to the next game?
You're definitely going to start. We're going to keep focusing on this game. I mean, 7 points, yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's a very doable comeback necessarily. But, like we've been saying, we just need to focus on our side, focus on our swings, our defense, and that's really what's going to help close this gap.
And as you say that, well, Bulldogs at a point as McLean Nolan, one of the top-tier players of the Bulldogs, checks into the game as Georgopoulos will set it up, and it gets blocked there, and a point will go to the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs are trying to cut the deficit. They got it to 5 so far. Let's see Georgopoulos set up in the back here. Here's the serve, short-handed. And do players tend to serve differently based on the situation? As the Friars get a point there?
Well, it's really going to depend on what Coach Bonarigo wants. So there are 6 zones on the court, and he's going to give each and every player a zone that he wants them to hit, typically to get the ball to a player that maybe isn't as good of a passer or has been flustered in the game. And so with that serve from Zach, he served to a short zone 2, so that hitter or that defensive player wasn't exactly ready for it, so he got kind of a bad pass, and so that's really what Coach wants.
Now, Bio Zaper made a touch the ball as it sailed out of bounds as the Bulldogs trying to stay in it as they're still down 7 as an easy tip over. And the Fenwick tries to set it up again as it sails in the back, and RB is going to get the point. And Espinoza is going to check into the game here. He's going to try to work his serving magic as the Bulldogs are still down 6, but they seem to be in it a little bit. Let's see if they can make a quick run here. Here's the setup by Fenwick. And the block by Nolan and Torres as Bulldogs are going to cut it to 5. Espinoza is going to set it up again. Here is Espinoza. We'll sail it to the left side. Sets it up. And it's blocked, but a little ill communication as Nolan will get it back in play. As the point is going to go to the Bulldogs, and they're going to cut it just to 4. Rallying a little bit. Now, do you feel as the Friars take a timeout here, now do you think that the Bulldogs are gaining a little bit momentum from this timeout, from the Friars timeout, or do you think they're still trying to find their way through this game?
Well, I think they definitely have the momentum now. I mean, I think that's the reason that, the Friars coach called the timeout is they know that, if the Friars don't stop them here, that the Bulldogs are going to go on a run and we're going to, potentially win this set. And so right now, the coach of Fenwick is probably just telling, her boys to just, calm down, focus on what we need to do. And, Coach Bonarigo's telling him, you gotta make a push right here because now is the time to make a push. You don't want to wait till it's, 23-14 to try and, get a push going. So
now, as we look here, I don't know whether this would be considered a late game or not, but in late game situations, would you start focusing on trying to get serves in, or would you try to get a little bit gritty on the inside? Or as we see Fenwick try to set it up there as Nolan's going to keep it in, and the Bulldogs are going to try to keep it in play as the point's going to go to Fenwick. So right now Fenwick's trying to get there to the end. What are going through the Bulldogs' mind right now? Are they going to try to get quick points, or are they going to try to make it a gritty game and try to keep it as long as possible?
They're going to want to get quick points, definitely. Quick points are going to, give them some momentum. It's going to get some cheers going, too, so you want to try and focus on what we need to do. I mean, you really don't want to get into those long rallies at this point because it's going to tire your teammates out. And, if you lose it, that's a big momentum loss right there.
As we have Arturo Lopez serving the ball as the Bulldogs are only down 4 here. Let's see if they can work a little bit more skill as they're going to fire it up to the back row as Georgopoulos gets it back. But Bio is going to fire it up to the back row, the Friars side, as the Friars are going to try to set something up. Georgopoulos is there to meet him as McLean Nolan is there to meet Espinoza in the middle, and the Bulldogs have cut the deficit to 3. As we're going to see Arturo take the serve here one more time. Now, do you think that some of the Bulldogs players are getting tired, or do you think that this momentum is keeping them up a little bit?
I think the momentum's definitely keeping them up a little bit right now.
Now, as we see the Friars trying to set up something here, we're going to fire it over to Espinoza, to Georgopoulos, and here's Bio in the left side as the Friars make a beautiful move there. And the point goes right back over by Nolan, and the Bulldogs have cut the deficit to just 2, as Lopez is having a very nice serving set here. As here's the windup. And a little miscommunication, but the Friars get it back in play. Here's Espinoza right back to Nolan, and the point right back. And the Bulldogs are only down 1 at this point. Lopez and Nolan making their time very efficient here on the floor. As here's the further serve to tie the game. Friars try to set something up. Nolan keeps it in. Here's Georgopoulos. Here's Bio, tips it back, and the point's going to go to the Friars. Unfortunately, only up 2 at this point. We have ourselves a nice game here, though, as we're going to see the Friars take serving possession for the first time in a long time, as they've seen number 17, Luke Wolf, take the serve. He's going to fire it over to Georgopoulos. Here's Espinoza, fake it back to Nolan as Torres makes a wonderful throw there, as we're going to see Jason Baginis and Angelo Hernandez come out of the game. Now, McLean Nolan, he did have a hot set, but what do you think Bonarigo is taking him out? Is that fatigue, or is that just a strategic move, maybe?
Well, as a middle hitter, you are only able to play 3 rotations, and so right now Jason is in, and he's just about to start his rotation, so it's going to be his 3, and then it's going to be McLean's 3, so it's going to have to switch off. So there are times where you just kind of have to wait till the rotations go around and you're able to go back in. So it's not so much as a choice right now, but a rule of the game.
All right. And as we have the Friars go up 2 points, as it's 21-19, as the Bulldogs play that one right, and it's 21-20 as Gustavo Lopez and Peter Ferguson check into the game here for Espinoza and Torres. Espinoza with a very superb set there, as here's Ferguson setting up for the serve. Friars will get the setup, and there's a wonderful block there as Hernandez keeps it in, and Jason is going to get it back on the Friar side as a wonderful block, and the Friars keep it alive as another wonderful block, and the point goes to the Friars, unfortunately, as it sailed out of bounds, 22-20. Now we're nearing the late of the game. This is a pivotal possession here. The Friars can either go up 3 points or go up only 1 point. So let's see here as number 8, Pat Daly, takes the serve. Tough hit there, as the Bulldogs will have to try to get it back over as it sails back. Poor play there as the Friars go up 3, and the Bulldogs are going to take a timeout here. A little nerve-wracking here in the gymnasium, the crowd not too into it. Now, have you ever seen volleyball crowds really get up on their feet and really get into the game?
Oh, yes, definitely. Those big matches where you're looking at regional championships, sectional championships, or even championships of tournaments, the crowds are going to be really into it. Not so much cheering for a team, but, I mean, some, just want to cheer on a good game of volleyball.
The adrenaline, the pumping here. Now, would you, in your in your feet, would you at this point would you be up on your feet cheering for the Bulldogs, or would you kind of be sitting quiet, making sure they can concentrate?
I would definitely be up on my feet on the bench, screaming my head off, because what the guys need right now is a big momentum push, and they need momentum, they need some cheering, they need some energy, because right now they're looking pretty dead. And so, I mean, all of the airs are on our side, and you fix that by, waking up, doing what you need to do. So I definitely think we need a really big push right here.
And as we have Pat Daly taking the serve, this is a very pivotal possession for the Bulldogs. As we have Ferguson set it up, Georgopoulos is going to get the set back into the back row. Fenwick will try to set it up to number 22 as Georgopoulos will set it back under the net. As the Friars will go out 4 points here, the Bulldogs looking a little bit hurt. As Bonarigo going out on the floor a little bit there, looking a bit mad. As Bio is going to settle one in the back, and the Friars will take set number 2. Now,
nope, we got a touch on the block from the Friars, so we're going to keep going, actually.
Oh, we'll continue here. 24-21. Thought the call went towards the Friars.
Yeah, me too.
It seemed like everyone in the crowd kind of put their head back, kind of hands up, kind of But we're still keeping going, so the Bulldogs are still in this. Hopefully they can make most of this situation here. And there's a little delay here as Bio Zaper will take the serve here. Game point. As the Friars will try to set something up here. Sail to the back row to Zaper. Hernandez will set it back to Lopez. Lopez will sail it over the net. We'll bump it back. Here's the setup. Ferguson with the set. With the bump. Back set over the net from Lopez. Fenwick will try to get the kill there, but Bio will get it back. As they try to set one more time up and an easy tip. But they keep it in play as they'll have to retreat over, and there's your final point. As the Bulldogs will lose set 1, 25-21. Now, now we'll take you, after we get back from the break, we'll go over that game and we'll take you to game number 3. You're watching RBTV. We're back to RBTV Game of the Week as we have the Riverside Brookfield Bulldogs taking on the Fenwick Friars in varsity volleyball as we come to Game 3 of this match. The Bulldogs winning the first set, the Friars winning the second set. And Olivia, we've seen a very tough Game 2 loss by the Bulldogs. What do you think went wrong in that game?
I think that we talked about a little bit earlier, but I think our, confidence got the best of us. We thought that the Friars would essentially lay down and so kind of give us that game like they gave us set 1, but they came out swinging, they came out playing hard. They picked up their defense, their offense, and we weren't expecting it, and we never recovered from that.
Now, right now, we've had the Bulldogs score a 1-point lead as they'll get the tie here, and the Fenwick Friars will get the point. But so far in the first 2 matches, the first team to score is the team to win. So we'll have number 22, Pat Kenny, take the serve on the Friar side. Now, as we've seen we've switched sides here, and is that a strategic move by the Bulldogs, or is that a rule of the game?
That's definitely a strategic move by the Bulldogs. They won on this side. They, felt really good coming into this game on this side. So they're going to switch to try and get some of that momentum back.
As we have Gabriel Espinoza checking into the game for number 18, Mikey Torres. And Espinoza had a wonderful Game 1. Not so much Game 2, but he did make a very efficient contribution as he will serve up as the Bulldogs have a 2-1 lead. And the block will get back. And the Bulldogs will go up 3-1 here quickly. Last game they had a very slow start, and they're up since the last score in Game 1. As Espinoza will take the serve. Friars will try to set it back up as Georgopoulos dives to the floor, but the Friars will keep it alive. There's a wonderful kill, and Georgopoulos with a dig as McLean Nolan. Too much power on that. It's amazing how high he can jump, but too much power, and that will sail to the back row. Those kids on the first row have to watch out for one of those passes. As we have 21, Nick Lillig, maybe of relation to Connor Lillig, we're not sure, but he makes the serve as it will go off the net, and the Bulldogs will take a 4-2 lead here. And Arturo Lopez will be taking the serve. Very good game 2 for him, or yes, for him, not to be confused with his other brother, who also had a not a bad game, as McLean Nolan will get a blocked shot there, as the Friars will take 4-3. Make the score 4-3, as number 17 Luke Wolf will be taking the serve here, as he has his ritual. And Hartwig will receive the pass. Get it back to Hartwig as he will sail over, and a nice kill by Hartwig.
Yeah, so there we saw Gabe Espinoza, who was also a setter, and Peter right now is currently setting in the front row, and Gabe's back row playing defense, but also playing as a setter. So he took that set it up perfectly to Hartwig, and they got the kill.
As you see, McLean Nolan making a serve, not too much, but as we see a double hit, maybe it looked like, as the Bulldogs will take a 6-3 lead, and they will try to build on that. Coach Bonarigo trying to get his boys motivated after that Game 2 loss. They looked a little fatigued, but they look like they're rallying the troops back in this game, as Nolan will take a serve that will sail out of bounds, and the score will be 6-4, Fenwick down 2. Number 20, Connor Lillig, making the serve here. As he has his jump serve to Espinoza, right back to Hartwig, who will make a wonderful point, just like he did before, as Torres will check in the game for Espinoza. And now we have the Hartwig-Torres Vaginis line in the front. Ferguson, Nolan, and Georgopoulos in the back, as Fenwick will try to set something up here, as Georgopoulos will keep it in play. Ferguson will set it up, and Nolan will try to kill it, but the Fenwick Flyers make a very nice play as Nolan sets it up, and here it comes for the kill to Hartwig, as the Fenwick Flyers try to dig it out, but sail out of bounds, as the Bulldogs will go up 8-4. So right now we've seen the first 12 points of the game here scored. What was the difference between Game 2 and Game 3 start?
Well, Game 2, we came out pretty slow. We started off, down by 5 points to Fenwick, and so that was definitely a big hit to our ego coming off that really good win, or that really nice win in set 1. And so this game, we're starting off strong. We're getting some pretty big swings early, and that's really, a key boost for your confidence and for your momentum.
Now, as you see, Will Sophie take the serve, and Hartwig getting some air there. Now, and the point will go to the Bulldogs as they go off 9-5. Now, I've noticed that many times the volleyball hits the ceiling and it continues in play. There's no rule against that, correct?
There is no rule against the ceiling. There is a rule against both the walls and then the red and white striped antennas.
Now, have you ever seen a player try to, maybe use the ceiling as kind of to set up maybe another player, or use it to their advantage at any point in the game, or is that just kind of a freak thing?
I think if they were to use it to their advantage, it'd be a complete coincidence, and I don't know if I've ever seen someone actually try to do that, but I mean, if you have tried to do that and you're out there, props to you.
Smart play, as the Friars are going to take a timeout here as the Bulldogs are up 9-5. As we see up and to our left, we have a small, well, I guess you would say 7th man, considering that there are 6 players in volleyball set up by the sophomore volleyball team and such. Seem to getting a little cheer on in this kind of desolate home crowd, but the Bulldogs are still up, and we have 13 seconds remaining in this timeout as the Friars will come out here. What do you think the Friars are thinking after that timeout?
Well, I think their coach is telling them that they need to, start putting the ball in play and start getting some touches on our hitters. I mean, we've seen Eric Hartwig take a lot of big swings, and I mean, there's nothing you can do when the ball is going straight down, around 15 feet off in the court. So they definitely want some positive touches off the block to help slow down our offense.
Now, as you see, Hartwig is taking the serve and a wonderful block there, as the Bulldogs will go up 10-5, as Nolan will check out of the game here. Hartwig with another serve. Fenwick keeps it in, as number 22, Pat Kenny, tries to play it off, and he gets the point there as it bounces off a few players. 10-6 here. The Bulldogs are up 4, trying to expand this lead as substitution made for the Friars, as the coach is trying to talk over some plays. And we have number 6, Will Sophie, taking the serve here. Sophie will serve it right to Arturo Lopez, as the Friars will keep it alive. They're set up by Kenny. Right back to Kenny. Torres will keep it alive. The block over, and it looks like it went out of bounds, and the point will go to the Friars, 10-7. Set to Lopez, right back to Ferguson. Here's Hartwig with the spike as they dig there. Tough to the floor. Kenny with the spike right back to Lopez, who tries to respond, and it's blocked right back by number 18, Ivan Alaries. If I'm pronouncing that right. One of the taller players on the team. As we're going to have Sophie take the serve one more time, as the Friars are slowly coming back a little bit. 10-8, 2-point lead as they try to set it back, and the point will go right back to the Bulldogs. 11-8 as we see Georgopoulos taking the serve here. Georgopoulos with the serve. They're going to set it up right back to Lillig. Ferguson's going to keep it in play, as a nice defensive play made there by the Friars, as the Friars are going to try to set it up, and the point is going to go right to the Flyers. Now it's 11-9. What are the Bulldogs' objectives for this game? It looks like they're trying to just stay alive just a little bit.
Well, right now the Bulldogs are definitely making a lot of mental plays. Right there, we had a miscommunication of who was going to pass that ball. You know, Eric Hartwig went for a ball that was going pretty much completely out. So, I mean, I think they just need to get their heads in the game a little bit more and, you know, realize, you know, there's a lot at stake right here and start being a little more conscious of the decisions they're making. As
the Bulldogs hit a point there, they go up 12-9, creeping a little bit there, march by march, as the Friars will try to set it up for a easy soft hit there, as Georgopoulos will set it back to Bio, who's on the left side. Friars are going to try to keep it alive. Here's Lillig, go right back to Kenny. Kenny's going to hit it over the net. Ferguson is going to set up for Nolan, who kind of fakes it back, or maybe there was a miscommunication there. But the Friars are going to get the point, as it's 12-10, as number 21, Nick Lillig, will take the serve. As Georgopoulos will take it right back to Bio. Bio will sail it to the left side, as Kenny will come back. Hartwig will receive it, and poor hit by Ferguson. But the teammates tend to help him up. When a teammate does fall like that, do you rally around him? What do? Do you say encouraging words, or you kind of stick it to him a little bit? What would be your approach? Would you kind of constructive criticize them, or would you kind of just encourage, like, softly help them back, kind of almost compliment them?
Well, you're definitely going to want to let them know that you're there for them, and it's okay, you know, to make mistakes, and everyone's going to make mistakes. And so, I mean, sometimes, you know, Peter just, you know, lost track of his hands, ball fell through. It happens. It totally happens. It's completely understandable, you know, but, you know, there's still a game on the line. And so, you know, Bonarigo did make that substitution, and Gabe Lopez is now setting. So, I mean, you know, Peter knows that he's, you know, there, and he's the primary setter, so I'm sure he's not too worried about it. But, I mean, you still made a mistake, so you're still a little conscious of what you're doing every point after that.
As the Bulldogs and the Friars exchange a couple points there, as we have Luke Wolf taking the serve for the Friars. He's going to sail it over to Georgopoulos. Georgopoulos will set it up to Lopez, who gets that blocked, but it doesn't go over the net. And the Bulldogs will take a 14-12 lead. As we get Nolan to start serving a little bit. We serve it right to Lillig. Lillig to Kenny. Nolan will set it up. They'll set it up right to Hartwig, who tips it just ever so slightly to get the Bulldog point, 15-12. As we have Nolan taking another serve here again. And the point there by the Bulldogs as Lillig takes a spill. Now, as we do see, McLean Nolan doesn't really take a lot of serves. Is that just by rotating out at coincidental times, or is Bonarigo actually making sure he doesn't serve too much?
No, Well, that's definitely a rotational thing. When you are rotating as a middle, only one middle is allowed to serve, and so between McLean and Jason, Coach has picked McLean to serve.
Now, as we see Nolan having a wonderful time serving here, he's making the most of his time, even though he has not seen a lot of serving time. As they get another point, and a timeout taken by the Friars as the Bulldogs go up 6 points, 18-12. This is the biggest lead of the game. A huge momentum swing. Now, Friars are down 6 points. Now, we know that the Bulldogs like to play with large deficits, try to play back and forth, try to get back in the game. What do you think the Friars, based on their gameplay today, what are they going to try to do?
Well, right now, they really just need to start getting points. I mean, they may be sloppy points. They might be really, well-executed points. But right now, points is definitely what the team needs. And so you're down by, you're down by kind of a lot at this point. So you want to start trying to get on the board and just, taking a step back, deep breath. It's all right, but you just need to, try and close that gap as much as possible, as soon as possible.
And now we have the little home court advantage with this 7th man up in the rafters, as we have Nolan taking the serve, but it sails far, far out of bounds. Now do you think there's a little disadvantage to his height of serving, or kids a little too much power there with long arms, or do you think it's just technique? Do you think?
I think it's technique. He has recently been told to jump serve, and so him and coach have been working on that a little bit. So I think it's just getting used to, that new serve that is unfamiliar to him.
As we have Kenny taking a hard hit, and the Friars are going to get the point. It looks like powerful hit by number 22, as we have Connor Lillig taking the serve here. We will set it up. Georgopoulos will receive it, and will be set it up right for Nolan, who will get the friendly roll, and the Bulldogs will go up 5 points here. Bonarigo talking to his kids as Torres and Ferguson will check in for Espinoza and Gustavo Lopez.
And sometimes all you really need is that little couple point break, and so that's what Peter got. I'm sure he's ready to go right now. Focus is back on the game.
As we have Tom Kenny, but a little too late, as the Bulldogs will take a 6-point lead, as we have 20-14. Ferguson serving up his second, as we have Lillig receiving it. And number 12, Jack Lulich, will not be successful, as the bench gets a little bit into it, as the Bulldogs go up 21-14. And here's Ferguson on his third, as it sails a little bit to the right, as Kenny will have too much power there, as it sails out of bounds as they go up 22-14, and the Bulldogs have a lot of momentum on their side, going up 8 points, and here's Ferguson for his fourth. As it will sail a little bit close to the net, but Kenny will get it back, and it'll be topped right back out, but out of bounds, as the Friars will be taking the point there. Bulldogs are still up 22-14, as number 8, Pat Daly, will be taking the serve. Hartwig will receive the pass. Will be set right back up to Jack Kenny, as Ferguson will receive it back, as Hartwig will wind up, but a little too much, as we see there, as the Friars will go cut the deficit to 6 points. But that one sails right back out of bounds, and the Bulldogs are up 23-16.
That's a bad mistake to make at this point in the game.
As we see Hartwig taking the serve. Eric Hartwig, nice match today so far. As we see Friars trying to set up something, as Kenny will get the soft tip, but Torres will come out of nowhere and block that out, as here we have game point. Here's Hartwig trying to play 14 Kenny, and the point will go back, as the Bulldogs will win that game 3 set. Wonderful game by the Bulldogs, as they take it up. Nice match today by the Bulldogs. What do you think of their play today?
I think they came out really, really strong in the first set, and that was a true showing of what this team is. I think that the play in the second set was a little bit slower and a little bit uncharacteristic of the Bulldogs for this season, and so I think that's something that they're going to battle all season, is trying to play at that consistent level, that high level that they are familiar with, but also kind of aware that, when they do get cocky and when, errors start to pile up, that team that we saw in the second set could come out and be very much aware.
And that was a very wonderful set. As for Olivia Geisler and me, Anthony Landau, thank you for tuning in to RBTV's Game of the Week as the Riverside Brookfield Bulldogs defeated the Fenwick Friars. Be here tomorrow when the Bulldogs take on Walter Payton Prep. Good night.